Do you consider yourself a reliable authority, Dr. Alsehali?
On immunizations?
Yes.
No, I go and ask, I look for information from others as to what to do, and that is what we are taught to do in pediatrics.
And so, who do you look to for information regarding immunization?
The Center for Disease Control and the ACIP.
The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices?
Yes.
I went to Dartmouth back in the early 80s, and all I recall being taught about vaccines was that they were miraculous. We eradicated smallpox, polio, and followed the CDC schedule. And for most of my career, the CDC and the Academy of Pediatrics seemed to be in the same closed-door room making the schedule that was then released each year, and we just simply followed it.
What are we taught about vaccines? We are taught to memorize the vaccine schedule. And actually, I'm going to be sitting for my family medicine boards this year, and I am sure that I will have to memorize that schedule again in order to pass that exam. We don't discuss that almost $4 billion with a B has been paid to vaccine-injured patients since 1992. For medical professionals, we expect fair balance, but vaccines seem to be absolved from that consideration.
I didn't know anything beyond the vaccine information statements, where we find out that vaccines are perfectly safe, you'll become immortal if you vaccinate, and if you don't, all the babies in the world will die. And that's what the CDC wants us to believe, and I understand why they say what they say. When I started reading vaccine inserts, I was blown away at what had been studied or not studied, at the numbers of kids that were studied. A study of 2,000 kids, and then we start vaccinating 4 to 8 to 12 million kids to see what happens.
Physicians are just simply, they've been brainwashed from the first day of medical school. And it's just that they don't get the alternative views, and they don't read the huge amount of science that supports the dangers and the risks of vaccines and what's in the vaccines. They just don't know about the stuff. Or they'll just quote the AAP guidelines, or they'll quote the CDC, or they'll quote Paul Offit, and they're not doing their own reading and their own analysis of these things.
Now the problem is, when you go see a doctor today, you're only being formed to the knowledge of that doctor. And sadly, most of our doctors, as Del pointed out, feel that vaccines are safe and effective, end of story. So that's the amount of information you're going to get. And so those of you who are parents who are watching this, you need to inform yourselves, because chances are you may not get adequate information from your doctor.